This message called Chart Your Course is from Psalm 90, verse 12. The Bible says, "Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom." Recently, a young family member, one of our relatives, was in our home and took my childhood scooter and got on it, held on, picked up his feet, and then looked puzzled and said, "It won't go." We know what he was doing. He was ready for the electric motor to kick in, which we didn't have back then. We need to be creative, motivated, action oriented. This message called Chart Your Course has some initiative that we need to take. You just don't pick up your feet, hold on, and let it go. You need to chart your course. Here's how from Psalm 90, verse 12. First is to learn. It says, "Teach us to number our days." This psalm, written as a prayer by Moses, was written by a guy who was a lifelong learner. Moses was. He said, "Teach us to number our days." For God to teach us makes me think of John chapter 13, where God, his son, Jesus, in chapter 13, verse 12, he said, "Do you understand what I have done for you?" Jesus had just washed the feet of the disciples. He was concerned about their understanding. And so, as our teacher, in verse 13, he said, "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am." Chart your course by making sure that he is your teacher. And as our teacher, he sets for us, verse 15, "I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you." His life of service, his act of service. He was giving us an example. And then in verse 17, "Now that you know these things, you will be happy if you do them." God is teaching us, helping us to learn that true happiness does not depend on happenings, but it depends on Him. And for us to make sure that we are learning from Him, that He is our teacher. Number two, not just learn, but number two is to manage. To manage. Teach us to number our days. When you manage your days, the word literally means to allot or parcel out. You have so much time and so much energy, and when you parcel it out and you manage your days, this certainly gets to me to number our days. Since today is my birthday, turning 65, oh man, numbering the days, realizing that they are limited. It's a natural flow from verse 5 of Psalm 90. Says that people are, quote, "like the new grass of the morning. In the morning it springs up new, but by evening it is dry and withered." Life is fleet. And so we need to manage our time. Ephesians 5:15 says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise." Manage your time is what God is saying to us. Verse 16 says, "Making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is." Manage your life. Allot, parcel out your time and your life. Colossians 4 verse 5 says, "Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. Make the most of every opportunity." Parcel it out. Manage your life is the second aspect of this. First is to learn, second is to manage, third is to grow. 1 Peter 2 verse 2 says, "Like newborn babies, desire the milk of the word so that you may grow thereby." Number three is to grow, to gain a heart Uh, Teach us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. When we gain a heart of wisdom, we grow, we gain some understanding. We gain when we read the Bible, when we hide it in our hearts. Colossians 1:10 says that we should be increasing in the knowledge of God. That is growth, that is spiritual growth. And Ephesians 4:15 says, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all aspects unto him who is the head, even Christ. That is to grow. So it is to learn, to manage, to grow. All of this is charting your course. And last of all is to understand. To understand. This is where wisdom comes in. Teach us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. This is the understanding. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God. You know, some people don't ask God for wisdom because they think they know it all already. James 1:5 says, God gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you if you ask God for wisdom. Now, interesting that First James chapter 3 tells us what wisdom is not. In verses 14 through 16, it says that it is not bitterness or envy. Wisdom is not selfishness or boasting or disorder or evil practice. But second, James chapter 3 tells us what wisdom is. In verses 17 and 18, the first listed in it is purity. Guard your heart. Be careful. Be pure in what you do, what you see, what you listen to, what you think, what you say, and whom you are. The first listed is purity. James chapter 3 verses 17 and 18. Purity, then be peace-loving, be considerate, be submissive, be full of mercy. Verses 17 and 18 say, full of good fruit, impartial, sincere, be a peacemaker, and live right. And in all these things, you will be plotting out your course. How? When you learn, when you manage, when you grow, when you understand. Teach us to number our days so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I hope that that is your prayer to help you chart your course. God bless you. Happy New Year.